everybody. Almost that time. Almost that time. Actually, let's make it time. Hey, everybody. I'm back. Week 2, Season 3 of, I guess we call it now Production Playhouse. Abe Duque's Production Playhouse here at 343 TV. My name is Abe Duque. I am your host for today. We here every day at 1 o'clock. We stream. We cover subjects from, well, everything you want to know about making music, recording music, making better music, recording in better ways, processing it, making sounds. We have classes on Mondays. We have a tips and tricks class, or I call it a class because it's kind of a class to me because we actually come from a school, the 343 Labs. 343 TV is an offshoot of that. And yes, I was saying Mondays we have a stream that Doltrick does based on tips and tricks and mostly about Ableton stuff. Tuesdays we have Tetro Talks. Tetro is our director, I guess, our video director here. He's in charge of the video of all the streams and all the, you know, he's the video boss, I guess, at this point. And he does a call-in show, which is pretty awesome. He's been doing it for a while. He's a pretty big deal on the internet. He has a lot of followers, and he has his own show, which he does weekly as well. And let's see, Wednesdays we have Justin or Louis Beck doing his show. I forgot what he calls it now. I don't know if he changed it, but he's doing a lot of really cool things about production. This week I think he did something about kick and bass and getting it right. And he's his show is like it's shooting up. It's really people are really loving what he's doing right now. On Thursdays we have Max Wild, our founder, or one of our founders, doing a show on music theory. These days, he's been doing a lot of how do you make this type of music sort of show, kind of genre-based shows. And then Fridays is me doing this Production Playhouse, which is kind of like anything and everything that you want to have happen. And I guess on Saturdays we have Selway's Techno Saturdays. Tomorrow he's got a really cool show going on. Selway is going to come in, I guess, in a little while and talk to us about that. He said he would. He always says he's coming in. He actually owes us a live show. He was supposed to do a little live performance once and never showed up. He says he couldn't get in, but I don't know. All right, let me just check a couple of the settings here. I just wanted to make sure. I'm looking at myself on YouTube, and I look pretty gnarly, meaning low res. So I'm going to see if there's something going on in my settings that's preventing me from going a little higher res. Funny thing is, man, you never get it's funny as much as I can plan and prepare. And this week is a little weird because I had to come back to my studio in the city and do it from here. But as much as you plan and prepare, you always get all these crazy technical difficulties. I was under my console right now, moving wires around and pulling things out in the last minute, trying to get things to work, which is, really crazy that that's happening last minute. Let's see. Looks fine as far as video quality from what I'm sending out here. I don't know why my video is looking not so good. If you guys, Electronic Music Essentials, that's right. That was Justin's show, right? If you guys are seeing the same thing I'm seeing, which is a choppy version of Abe or a very low-res version of me, please let me know so that I can address it further if I need to. Let's see who's in the chat today. We have Pseudopulse saying hello from Lewiston, Maine. Hello, Pseudopulse. Thank you very much for your show every week. I always look forward to it. Wow, and I look forward to being here with you guys because to me, this is the highlight of my whole week. I actually prepare and do more things for this show than anything else that I do in my whole life, the whole week. And it really, to me, it's a fun thing to do. I think I said this last week. It reminds me of how I used to prepare for live sets when I used to tour, or DJ sets when I used to tour, and I used to get the butterflies in the stomach, and things would be going wrong, and you'd have to be beating the clock or racing the clock to get everything to work correctly. Okay, I don't see anything I could be doing any different with my video output, so I'm gonna just leave it like that. If you guys are noticing that, yeah, it looks crappy, somebody says. Also, the sound is off, meaning my sound is off from when I'm speaking. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Uh, oh, I hope it fixes itself. Last week I had issues with YouTube as well, which is not very cool. Um, um, I don't know if it's a YouTube issue or my issue here. Anyway, let's see who else is in the chat in the meantime. Max Wild is here. Hello, Max. Good to see you. If you want to come in at any time, you have the link. You can try once again to come in and join us. Let's see who else is in here. John Selway is there. John, whenever you're ready, you can come in. Nefertiti Gold. Hello, Nefertiti. She's in my class. Makes awesome music. We're doing a lot of mixing on her vocals these days. Let's see. Aaron Toth. Hey. Ashkoch Babu. Hi. Hello to you too. Okay. Yeah. These weird problems that I have with technical difficulties get me a little crazy sometimes, to be honest with you guys. On 1080 video, it's still pixelated. Yeah, that's what I'm noticing that myself, and I don't know why that is the case. I should be, and it says I'm streaming at the high quality, so I don't know. And I'd like to fix that if I could, but okay. Max says it sounds fine, which is, okay. But I like to look good too, Max. It's not how I sound, it's how I look. I guess for 3434 in audio school, how it looks is important. I mean, how it sounds is more important, and but how it looks to me is also very important. No sound problem here in Wales. Okay, so sound is good. That's good to know. I'm just gonna proceed as if nothing was wrong. So I'm in high quality video mode, so I can't, and see stream size. Yep. I do not know. Anyway, regardless, let's keep it moving. Let's do the news. Might as well get that out of the way. There's a lot of news this week. I actually cut down on how much news I was going to show this week because NAMM happened, and if you don't know what NAMM is, it's this big convention that happens every year, where audio professionals go to learn what the new gear and stuff is coming down the pipeline. But anyway, let's do the news. Let's go to the news. All right, here we are in the news. So let's get rid of that little guest circle there, and let's get our first news subject here. This is really nice. The Soundforce VCF/VCA 6. It's a Juno-based filter amp combo for Eurorack. Now this is great because it brings the VCF and the VCA is an impressive looking Eurorack interpretation of the VCF and VCA and high pass filter sections of the Roland Juno 60 and 106. And this is great. I mean, these are some very classic filters, and to have them now available as a Eurorack module is a really cool thing. For those of you that are into Eurorack, you could look forward to this coming down. Okay, let's see what our next. Yes. Zendaw Cloud Keys touch control software for Reason, for you Reason users out there. Let me make this a little smaller so my head doesn't get cut off. Zendo introduces Cloud Keys software that enables touch control for Reason Studios' famous DAW. Cloud Key requires a computer with a touch screen display running Windows 7 or later. I guess this is a Windows thing. It lays out many important parameters and functions on the screen, such as a sequencer, editor tools, file handling, zoom, transport, navigation, and more. There are over 130 pre-map Reason touchscreen actions, including touch gestures, and all of them are color-coded. This makes working with Reason quicker and more intuitive, perhaps giving new creative possibilities through the use of touch. That's for you Reason users out there. It's a really nice thing to have. Let me expand that so you have to look at that. Look at that. That looks great. That looks great. But I guess it's only a Windows thing, so sorry, Mac users, which I'm one of them, so I'm okay. I'm thinking of getting another PC. I haven't had a PC in forever. If anybody knew me 10 years ago, I was exclusively a PC dude. I was kind of like, Mac, you're snooty or whatever, and then I switched to Mac, and I've been now pretty much exclusively a Mac dude, except for an old PC laptop that I have, and I've been thinking of following in John Selway's footsteps, and buying and putting together a new system, a new PC system. Let's see. Before I continue in the news, let's see if there's any more comments here in the chat, and there are some. Oh, look, I'm looking better now. I just looked at myself. I'm looking a little better. Very nice. I don't know what that's all about, but hey, whatever. Let's see. John Selway, Restream getting a low bit rate from you. Blame your ISP. Maybe I can do that. Nefertiti is laughing. Max Wild is pointing and laughing. I don't know what that is. Okay, much better, says Pseudopulse. Very nice. Okay, let's go to our next part of the news here. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is cool. This is really cool for you Zoom pedal lovers. Let's see. I have the info written down here. Can't memorize all this stuff. The Zoom G6 multi-effects guitar pedal gets worldwide release, and this was only available in Japan for a while. Previously only available in Japan, the Zoom G6 is now getting a hot worldwide release for the first time. Zoom claims that the G6 has a brand new style of distortion and never heard before modulation effects. The unit can chain up to 7 effects at once and has a 240 user patches, which include 100 user presets. You can also get an onboard infinite looper, which can handle up to 256 loops with a maximum of 2 hours recording time. And when using an SD card or 45 seconds without an SD card. Looks kind of cool too. Let's make this a little bigger and show it to you. It looks really cool. That seems like a one-stop shop for a guitar pedal, if you ask me. Nice expression pedal there, and nice little controls and nice little readout. Very nice, very nice. Let's go to our next part of the news. Hey, you guys that are waiting to come in, those that I've sent links to, like Max and John, you guys can hop in at any time. You know, it's not bad to have you kind of just hanging around on our stream here. Let's have a look again at the chat. I want to make sure that I don't miss any questions from you guys. And look, I'm choppy again. I don't know what this is all about. This is crazy. Let's see. It seems like it may be a focus issue. I don't think so. Well, yeah, right now it's a focus issue. Oh, look, John is here. Let's let John in. Let's assign John to guest one. Hey, John.
Hey, what's up?
So you could see me fine, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why is it that I don't think it's an ISP issue if you can see me so fine and I'm bumping it up?
I think, yeah, whatever it was seems to have mostly worked itself out.
Well, it's kind of intermittent because I'm looking at the feed and it looks like it's in and out and back and forth. But whatever, we're going to keep on going here.
It's the internet.
Good that you're here for the news. I have some other things here. So check these out. Have you heard of these guys before? These monitors, they were kind of vaporware for a little bit. the Output
What are
Frontier studio monitors.
that's new to me.
Well, maybe the Barefoot company is not new to you because
Oh no.
so Output and Barefoot's audio co-developed studio monitor made an impressive announcement back in NAMM of 2020. And it was scheduled to release in this summer, but it never appeared. This beautiful speaker. It's a lot of people have been waiting for this guy, and it looks great. We
What's so
have
special about it?
well, it uses a lot of the a lot of technology that goes into those Barefoot monitors that we have at
Which are great.
343, which are like we have the small versions there, and I think they're like four
They're
grand or
just
something like that.
sitting there in that classroom, which we're not using all that much nowadays. I'm like,
Dude, you live
I,
around
I,
the corner. You
I
can go
should,
there and
Max, can I go grab them and use them at home? Just blow my living room up.
yeah, but these are much more affordable. They're like 1,600 euros, so it's a little bit more in dollars, but still not
Yeah.
4 grand. And everybody's been waiting for these because they're a little bit more affordable. Um,
A little.
Actually, they're not. They're 13.99 euro, which
That's
is
better.
less than about $1,500 maybe
Yeah.
if you do good with conversions in your head. So yeah, that's not bad. So yeah, these have emerged from vaporware, and all these all these stories that I'm reading from are from Gear News. Actually, I use Gear News as a
Okay.
way to kind of keep up with what's going on in gear. I used a few other ones, but we'll get to that. uh, right now, let's go to one more thing before we get to a very special one. Um, let's go to Native Instruments. You know what's going on with Native Instruments, John?
Well, they sold a majority share to a
Yes, they did.
financial whatever. I don't know what they do. What does the company that bought them is a company that buys companies, right?
Right. But Native Instruments acquired by technology investor, and now they
Aha.
plan end-to-end music creation platform.
Venture capitalists.
They want to make up, I guess, a DAW. Technology investors Francisco Partners has acquired majority ownership of Native Instruments and plans to create an end-to-end user-centric platform for the music creation industry. As a part of the deal, investor EMH Partners and Native Instruments founders become minority shareholders. The transaction is expected to close in the third quarter of 2021. So
That kind of looking at it from a just sort of a developmental point of view over the years, it makes total sense that a company like Native Instruments would get in. I mean, looking at what they did with what they do, they're trying to get all their products into one, and then they have their
unify things.
Yeah, they're unifying everything, and then you have the Machina, and that's like a DAW environment, like sort of a DAW environment. That could
Right.
totally, that's got to be, having it all be unified into one thing, and so like your DAW and your plugins and your sound libraries and everything all coming through one stream that all works together, that you subscribe to probably at some point.
Let's see. Exciting
see.
things in in
No, it makes
making.
sense from a business point of view. From other points of view, we have to think about this.
From another point of view, yes. It seems to me we're back to being choppy again. I'm looking at my YouTube feed. I should just turn
It's
it
like the
off.
weather. It's right. How sometimes the internet's bad depending on the
Yeah,
weather,
but
which I
I
don't
don't think it's my
understand.
ISP because our connection is pretty tight, and I can see you pretty tightly, and whatever. It doesn't matter. Everybody, just enjoy the show if you can. John's audio is a little higher than yours. I just tried to fix that. John.
I'll back away from the mic a little bit.
No, you're fine. I got you. I got you, man. So let's see. 50 yachts. I've got a NIMN32, and I'm not sure I like it. Okay. Well, that's honesty, John.
Be honest, always.
All right. So brings us to this last part here of the news. There's well, it's about gear sluts. Yeah, horrible name, right? You say the name
It's
now.
always been the worst name.
Yeah, so Gear Sluts formed to change its name after Sexism Row. Finally. After mounting pressure, spearheaded by an online petition of nearly 5,000 signatures, Julian Standen posted on his jaunty named forum, "We
the new
recognize
name?
and agree that the word play pun in the name has gotten old and it's now time to move forward." He had actually said he wasn't going to change it a while back.
This
Now,
is one of those things I can see both sides of.
really, let's see. What? Talk to me, John. Tell me.
Well, okay, from a branding perspective from the beginning, it's a terrible sounding name, regardless of what it means to whoever, right? It sounds bad,
It
right?
does. It sounds horrible.
Now, the way I think about words is it's more about how you use them than the word itself. So, in and of itself, a word like that is just a word.
Yeah, but even even
And
without the sexism part of
we
it,
give
it
it
just sounds
meaning.
raunchy.
Well, sexist, I think also it depends on who you say it to.
Okay, imagine you're checking out the new forum stuff on the Gear Sluts, and your daughter walks over your shoulder and goes, "Hey, what is this site you're on, Gear Sluts?"
I would tell her that it's a terrible name and it doesn't really mean anything awful about anybody in particular.
Especially not gear.
Yeah, I mean, it's implying that everybody on this site is like a certain way about music gear. Okay. Like the people who use this site just will do anything about,
right.
and you know what I mean? You see what I'm
All
getting
right.
at?
Well,
So,
what about Muff Wiggler? Well, that's another site that does the same thing. I mean, what's going on here? I mean,
what's a muff?
all right. Anyway, moving on.
Please.
I'm just saying these names have to get with the times. We're trying to be all a little more civil and a little more polite. And
I think it's changing. It was a good idea. Like they should have changed it years ago before anyone complained about it because it's just a awful sounding name, regardless of what it means.
I saw it as being a little funny, but
I mean, it's
whatever. The point is that actually they could use it as an opportunity to get some marketing. Just
I mean, should it have been
name
what,
change.
Gear Freaks?
Woo! Yeah. All right.
I mean, what does that mean?
I like it. I like it, John. Gear Freaks.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they're going to change it to.
All right. Well, with that said, that's the news for today. There's plenty of other stuff. Have a look at. I use Gear News to check out. They're only about just showing what's new in gear, and they have so much this week because of NAM.
Is it Nam or Nam?
Nam. I don't know. I used to go to Nam. Well, I used to tell my nephews that I was in Nam with Chuck Norris. All right, old guy joke. Anyway, let's move on, John. What do you say? You gonna hang out for a little bit?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
where did
I'm
I
here?
go?
It's just fun.
Hold on.
I'll
Am
stay.
I still here? Okay, hold on. It's fun to have you here. I don't know where I went. Let me see if I could. Maybe it'll just be me and. Okay, I got another one here that I could use. I'll turn you on, John. How about there?
Someone in the chat said gear sloths.
Gear slots. Yeah, right on. And we're back to being super choppy again.
Well, we're just going to roll with it.
Okay, let's roll with it. All right. So let's talk about you, John, a little bit. What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, like you, we're getting back into this 343 TV season, and it is also. I heard you say earlier that it's a highlight of your week, and it is for me too. And
what do you got coming up tomorrow?
Oh, this is good. All right, so I don't know, any of you out there who are really into techno, like I am, might have heard of a producer named Speedy J, an artist named Speedy J. His real name is Joachim Bap. And he's been doing a lot of live streams recently with his Store Lab thing. He's got a studio and a label, and he was already doing streams and live performances online prior to our pandemic situation, but he's been kind of stepping it up and doing more and continuing to do it more and more, and doing these knob twiddlers kind of hangouts. He's like doing live streams, chatting with different producers and artists, which are also kind of interesting. But I've really been into these remote synced live streams that he's been doing, where he's in the Netherlands and he'll connect with someone in the UK. Like, for example, he had one with Luke Slater, another really amazing longtime techno producer, worthy of great respect. I'm a fan. Big and time. So he and Speedy J and Luke Slater had their clocks, on their sequencers or their hardware synced over the internet. And I think we all know already from like Zoom calls and streaming right now, there's a delay when video and audio travel over the internet from one node to another, from one server to another, and it's kind of a thing now to collaborate with people online. You see these people, people can't get together and sing or play in bands in the same room anymore, right? Because we're spreading a virus. And so we have these virtual choirs where people are recording their songs each individually. And then there's a very complex job of a video editor having to put all of those recordings together and mix it into one musical piece. So a lot of, sort of traditional musical groups, choirs, bands, orchestras are also looking into real-time audio and musical performance over the internet. And there's different platforms for that. There's one called that I actually helped my mother's children's choir set up something using a Jack Trip, which is another low latency I'm me. So and they're the kids are able to sing with each other at very low latency. You need to be together in a kind of geographic location, like not part for the latency to be low enough to do. And there's other online jamming software platforms that have been around a little while, like Jamulus is one. And it attempts to get your latency for your audio so low that you can hear each other, with a few milliseconds, 10 or 20 milliseconds, give or take, so that you're close enough together in time that you can actually play together and keep it in time without it drifting in and out. So there's another system developed by a company called Cocos, called Ninjam. They also do the Reaper DAW. And their system, instead of trying to do low latency, they increase the latency and quantize it. So you actually have a clock that you follow. And everybody's like 1 bar, 2 bar, 4 bars, or a certain number of beats. And once you get you all join the server and you get your BPM matched on your DAW or on your hardware or whatever, connected to your computer, because you need to go through a computer to do this. And once you get your clock synced up, it does a really good job of keeping the beat tight. So you can literally, and this is what Speedy J is doing. I think he's using Reaper and Ninjam. He has a server, and he and his guest connect to the server, and they are able to sync their clock over the internet and have audio going 2 ways so they can hear each other. And it's great. So I'm going to show everybody tomorrow sort of my journey into how this works. I've got a couple of people to join in, and we're going to sync our clocks over a Ninjam server. And I'm going to show you guys what software you need to do this, and what how to get started if you also want to go online and sync your DAW clock and your hardware and perform and jam with each other. And actually, even you can also record multi-track, so you can go back and mix it down and or sample it or whatever you want to do later.
Sorry? This week we tried it a little bit from my studio to yours, and it was actually working. I had some issues on my end, but they were not because anything was wrong with the system. It's just me and my system not hooked up. And I was lazy. It was late at night. I didn't want to start plugging stuff in.
Yeah, you were tired. It's fine.
Yeah, it was late night. What are you going to do? All right. Well, that's great. Everybody tune in tomorrow then. And tomorrow we have a giveaway this week. You always get the giveaways, John. You know. Well,
it's the end. It's the last show of the week, so I'm the one who gets to give them away.
What's the giveaway tomorrow? Do you know? Anybody know? I think it's
I didn't get the email yet from Thomas, so
Thomas or Max in the chat, let us know what the giveaway is for this week. I don't know. I know there is one because I remember watching Louis Beck's show, and he was talking about the giveaway, but I don't exactly recall what the giveaway was. But there is a giveaway tomorrow, and you guys could if you tune in to John's show, I guess you can get some free swag or something. I don't know what they're giving. It might last
already,
week was like
we're just gonna announce the winner tomorrow.
Last week was like a 3-month subscription to Splice. Yeah, Arturia FX bundle. Whoa, look at that. Nice.
I want that.
Yes, yes.
But I am disqualified from this giveaway. So
hey, Max, you're there. If you want to come in, Max, you can come in and hang out with us if you like. All right, so just remember, so again, we are 343, 343 Labs and 343 TV. John and I both teach at 343 Labs. John teaches sound design and other things, Ableton, and actually John can probably teach any subject. But I think right now you're focusing on sound design. Is that right, John?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of synth and sound design classes going and an Ableton class going. That's usually what I do.
Right, and I do Ableton as well, and I do the mixing and mastering classes. Um, and yeah, that should that should suffice for us. But there's a bunch of other instructors that teach all sorts of cool things, including music theory, composition, vocal production, uh, everything really. We'll teach you anything you want. Logic, how about that? Logic is making such a big comeback these days. No, haven't you noticed that? Ever since their last update, I thought Logic was on the way out. I thought Logic was dead, and then since the last update, I'm getting classes now. I have a mixing and mastering class that Nefertiti is part of. Um, uh, she, I think most of the people are on Logic in that class, which is never happened before. Usually, I get the random Logic user in a class, and now Logic is the thing. I guess it's cheap enough and good enough, great actually. So why not, right? Ableton is pricey, wouldn't you say?
A little, yeah, compared to Logic.
Compared
Yeah,
to Logic,
sure.
and the quality is, not, I mean, okay, now that they have the new updates, would you say the workflow is a little bit more like Ableton with the clips and stuff that they have, the
Yeah,
launching?
I mean, for sure, like they've been watching what people are using Live for and Bitwig as well now, and that's a workflow that people really get into. So it makes sense to want to incorporate that. Doesn't even Cubase do a little bit of that now too? I think it's kind of
I haven't really looked into all the
yeah.
goings
It's
on
been a
with
long
Cubase.
time.
Max says he's cooking dinner, so he's not coming to hang out with us. All right, Max. I hope you're drinking
You know.
drinking wine while you're cooking dinner. Anyway, we are 343. Go to our website. Go to 343labs.com or 343labs.de. We have physical schools and we have internet-based schools. And our internet-based schools, I guess, it has the most classes right now. But we have classes starting all the time. Have a look at all the classes starting up. Join us in a class if you'd like to kind of see this happen in a more structured classroom setting. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit today about finishing. Today's topic was about finishing tracks, and that's why I have you here, John, because I know you're really great at finishing tracks. Wouldn't you say so, John?
That's you laugh, I laugh. I have so many unfinished projects over the years.
Do
It
you
is
really?
I have way more unfinished projects than actual releases. I can't claim to be a very prolific producer, honestly. I've had some good records out and I've had a good number of records out since the 90s, but there are some producers that just crank tracks out like there's, just they must be doing 4 tracks a day. I mean, certain styles of music lend themselves to this.
4 tracks a day is a lot.
Working fast. Like,
By
yeah, I
the way,
mean,
if you see my camera going in and out, I'm having some trouble again, but I think it's going to come back. But yeah,
that's all right. They could see me.
they could see you, and
So
you're
I
the
mean
one. You're
that's an
the important one.
exaggeration. I mean, maybe it's more like 4 tracks a week, but like especially certain styles of techno, you can like, get when your studio set up and you got your flow going and you can just crank them out. And I've never been that guy. I've always kind of obsessed a little bit more about details. I'll like keep working on something and working on something and working on something and working on something and working on something. And then I don't know, at some point I'll go back to hear the first version and that was actually the best one and I should have just stuck with that. So, but I definitely can get caught up in things and trying to be a little too perfect and it does slow you down. So these are pitfalls to be avoided, I suppose, that we can discuss when we're talking about how to get done with something.
Yeah, getting done. The thing is, though, when is actually a track finished? That's the question. When is a track finally done? That's
It's up to you.
the yeah. That's the point. You may think it's done,
How
but
do you
then
know?
you'll second guess yourself and keep on going. Problem with that is that I find that a lot of the times when I find myself in that kind of second guessing loop, I end up changing the track so much that it becomes another track. And then at
That's
one
good
I should
though.
have
That
stopped
part.
though. I should have stopped and I would have had this other track, but I kept going. I just ended up in a very strange place. Let's call that a very strange place where I don't like to be in tracks. And I have a little text here. How about this? Uh, Wrap it up before you hate it, John.
I think that's good.
Well, I think even hating it is not the worst that you could be. Imagine
Mm.
now you're at a situation where you don't even know if you like it or if you hate it. You're just totally indifferent. Like it's just I can't. I don't know if it's good or bad. I think that's the worst place to be with when you're writing a track. I think I play. I've learned to speed it up if I'm really wanting to deliver a track, to speed it up and get things done, make quicker decisions before I end up at the point where I hate it, and definitely before I end up at a place where I don't even know if I like it or if I hate it, in this kind of ambivalent sort of state.
There's something you got to consider about this though, is that your mood, how you're feeling, how your day's going, what's going on around you, what you had for breakfast that day, like a million different things can affect whether you feel like you like it or you don't like it. So you also have to, even though you say finish it before you hate it, also give yourself time. Because like you might be working on something and almost done and you just had a horrible day and you're
Yeah,
like, this sucks. And
well,
then,
I get it. But what
you
about if
know,
it's 3 weeks
so,
in and the last 3 sessions have had that
hmm,
same sort of I don't
okay.
even know about this anymore.
Well,
That
then again, time. Like say, okay, it's done, save it, give it a version number, and forget about it and keep moving forward. You may come back to it weeks, months, years even later and listen to it and go, oh, this was really good. And it's done,
that has
because
happened.
you
But
just
yeah, that's the
stopped.
thing.
Yeah.
You have no perspective. You lose perspective, and that's
Mm,
the place where you don't want to be. Here's
right.
a thing that I find is very helpful. What is your deadline? I think the best thing you could have is a deadline. A deadline will keep you moving forward. Let's say, I mean, come on, John, you've been there before, and sometime
Sure.
a young John Selway in the '90s gets approached by a label and says, "Hey, we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars for this remix," and you're like, "Okay, thanks," and here it is in advance, and but please have it in before July 1st. And now it's June 25th, and John hasn't even started yet. What does John
This
do?
this may or may not be a true story. What does one do? Well, I mean, depending on your skill level, you might actually be able to knock something out real fast.
Well, have
And
you been in the situation where you just had to do it real fast
absolutely.
because of the deadline?
Absolutely. Sure.
Have you ever been in that
Definitely.
situation and then knocked it out of the park at the same time? I will say yes for
Possibly.
you. Yes, you
Yeah,
have.
I'm trying to, it's been so many years. I'm trying to think of, because we don't do so many remixes nowadays, especially like
Right.
under the gun for a healthy fee like that. Those days are kind of past. But there are definitely times where I knocked it together really quickly at the last minute. And I mean, this is actually like as a procrastinator, I'll admit to that. There are times where I let myself kind of rely on the rush and the energy you get from having to just do it. Like, you're on the edge of a cliff, right? And you have to,
Yeah.
figure out how to get, how to sort
Right,
yourself
but
out
if you
before you
don't
go over
have
the cliff.
that sort of gun to your head that is a deadline, you probably will just go, yeah, let's see, let's try this, and it happens to me. Like, I think one of the most productive periods of my career, my producing career, was like around the mid 2000s, early 2000s, 2004 to 2000, let's say 8. And at that time, I had this label that I started called Duque Records, and the way that I got myself to actually do it and keep on releasing fast was that I would call up the mastering engineer and say, "Hey, can I have an appointment for this date?" Not having any music, and then the date was coming up. I couldn't change it, and I would freak out. And even the night before, I'd be putting it all together and just like arriving there with like big eyes and not having slept. But I would actually get done. That's the only way that I could stick myself to the schedule is by like doing it to myself, like sticking,
Mm.
making a hard deadline for myself that I'd have to stick to. And because otherwise I would have found the reason to push off the deadline and found the
Mhm.
reason to do something else instead and relax. And these days I would probably sit around watching Netflix instead or something. But yeah, that's actually what I do.
So many distractions we
So
have
many
nowadays.
distractions. All right. Let's see. Let's go to. I have a couple of other ones that are. So when I'm when I'm about to finish a track, uh, I usually, have a vision for the track, and I think that to me, having a vision for the track is important. I can't just be like willy nilly. Where's this taking me, and where what are we doing here? And just letting the wind take you. I think I have kind of an idea of certain things that need to be kind of met in order for that for the project that I'm involved in right now, which is my new track, to kind of be going in the right direction. And I try to stick to that. And things are going to be like a genre, what it's meant to do, what its purpose of it is. Is it meant to make people's booty shake on the dance floor? Or is it meant to make people cry and hug each other? Is it meant to, I have these kind of maybe, kind of out there sort of principles or mandates for the track, but they have, these things have to be checked off as I'm doing it, and then they get more specific. Like I'll have, for example, a length that's specific in my head. I won't, if I'm aiming to do a 5-minute track, it should be around 5 minutes. I don't know. Do you have anything like that, John?
No, I agree. I think, all right, because I do a little of both. A lot of times my music is improvisational and I'll just fool around and I won't have a specific goal in mind. And the situation, what you're saying is absolutely true. It's just going to just sort of go where it goes. And sometimes it might end up in a finished idea and sometimes it might not. So having a focus of a destination you want to get to ahead of time is very helpful. Either on the creative side, just for the pure idea of it. I mean, I guess this is also talking about how to get started with things too, but having a destination in mind and a set of parameters to fit into and to try to achieve is definitely a good way, because you'll know if you have this list of ideas that you're going for and you can kind of check them off. And then when they're all checked off, oh, it must be pretty close to done if I got all these ideas right, So that can help you. It's like kind of a reference for you to know that you're getting to completion when you've gone through all these ideas and you've incorporated them.
Do you have any kind of, that you're getting to the end, that it's that you're almost there. Do you have any kind of things, checklists that you go through to try to make sure that the track is ready to go?
I mean, not it's pretty basic stuff. Is like, is the arrangement the arrangement is a lot of it. You could have really great musical ideas and improvise and write some cool melodies or rhythms or whatever, but like, do they feel like they all fit together in a cohesive way that makes it a unique whole? Like, does the arrangement feel right for whatever its purpose is? Like if you're going for a dance floor tune or just ambient music or like a 30-second piece of music for advertising, like does the arrangement make sense? And is it balanced and give the impact or the feeling that you want? Obviously, the mix down has to be at a certain percentage.
Yeah, and these days more than ever, where you're sort of expected to be the mixing and the mastering engineer at the same time.
Now, what you mentioned earlier about like scheduling a mastering session as like a hard deadline for you to get a release done. I mean, not everybody that's a luxury for a lot of people to afford.
Yeah, because I used to cut them to vinyl.
That's the other thing.
It wasn't just a mastering session. It was a cutting session.
We're not talking about emailing a couple of WAV files to some guy somewhere or uploading them to Lander. We're talking about getting in your car, bringing your DAT or your CDR over to the studio, and you have to book a session and you have to pay however much for the hours that you're in there, and there's like a minimum, and if you cancel that there's a fee, so it's a real commitment. And so that's if you're running a record label and you're at the point where you're like you have income and you're investing this money into making it be a good label and paying for a good mastering engineer who has a studio, it's a good thing to be able to do. If you don't have that, you have to kind of arbitrarily say, okay, this date is my deadline no matter what.
Yeah,
and you stick to that.
You know how I find how I tell people that that's going to happen, and that way I look really
tell
dumb
others.
If it
then you have to be held accountable.
Yeah, right.
I mean, nowadays, since we can all release music whenever we want, if you make it public that this is the release date, that February 9th, that's the date my new EP is coming out.
Is
and
it
then
really,
you
John?
don't no.
Oh.
But he knows that's like the day before my birthday. It's like but anyway, if you if you tell everybody that you know and put it out there on the internet, if you have followers on social media or whatever, just say, okay, this is my goal. This is the date that I have to have my release out. So that's not just finish the tracks. That's like mastered and prepared and uploaded and figuring out how you're going to distribute it and all that.
Here, one of the things that I do at the end, to sort of like to just polish it up, is here this. I play the game of what can you eliminate. It just
I mean, that's a great move to pull at any stage in the creative process.
especially at the end when you think you're done. And
Yeah.
what I do is I'll look at the whole arrangement, and I'll first of all I'll look at it without even listening, and I'll try to find elements that have hung out too long in my arrangement. It's like, why is this cowbell all the way through from beginning to
Mm.
end, never taking a break? Can I take it out of certain spots and not lose anything? And most of the time, you realize that when you do take out, you not only don't lose anything, but you actually gain something.
Contrast.
Yes, contrast.
You
So
gain contrast, and you gain new places where to make more interesting transitions and make other elements stand out that you didn't notice before because something was covering it up. That's all real important.
let's see. Pseudo Pulse says, "How long does it take? To produce a track for you guys on average, John?"
It depends. All right. So one of the most successful records I ever worked on, I won't not one of my I did one of the tracks with Christian Smith, 1999 Move, which came out on Intech. That was
Mhm.
one of our biggest records, and I think we did that in less than 6 hours, like start to finish, mixed down, committed to tape.
Yeah,
That's probably, and then there's probably a couple of tracks I did just as like live jams
yeah,
where I would like, spend like an hour setting up the loops. And, this is back in the day, like everything's going live straight to DAT,
yeah,
not doing any sequencing on the computer really. And I'd have the sound set up and the mix set up on the mixing board, and I'd hit record, and the track would be done in the time it took me to set it up and record it, which might be depending on how many takes I do. And it's a 6-minute track, maybe I do 3 or 4 takes. So like, 30, 45 minutes of recording time plus an hour-ish of setup. So maybe a couple of hours would be for like a looping, banging techno track that wasn't
right.
produced super carefully. A couple of hours.
You'd be surprised how fast you could pull it off, right? But then
Yeah.
it could also be 3 months.
Absolutely.
Max Weil says, or go back to the 20s when you would record straight to one take, straight to record, one take.
But that's after a whole lot of rehearsing. How many hours and hours and hours of rehearsing did these amazing instrumental musicians have before they went in and played it in one take?
Yeah, I had a situation one time where Miss Kitten, she was pretty big at the time, a big artist in French DJ, singer, producer, whatever, asked me to do a remix of one of her tracks, and I was like, wow, I mean that's a big deal for me because I spent, I don't know, 3 weeks trying to bang out a track, and then and then the deadline was getting closer, so I sent it even before, just a day or two before the deadline, and then I didn't hear back from her, and I was like, and I was like, hey, Caro, did you get the mix? And she's like, no answer. And then I get a call from her manager, which was my manager at that time too, Susanna. And she's like, yeah, Caro is not sure about the track. Not really, whatever. I think we it's not what we were looking for. And then I was like, well, what are you looking for? And then I figured out what it was that they were looking for. And then I was like, I went overnight and just did another mix and sent it in. And then the next day I got a call from Carol. It's like, hello, Abe. Oh, yes, it's great. I love it. It's amazing. I want to put it down. And 3 weeks I spent on doing something that I thought would be amazing. And then overnight in the cram to just get anything out that would have my name related to her name. I pulled that out of somewhere, and it actually worked. So whatever. So I guess it can happen fast, and it could also does happen very slowly. Okay. In the meantime, I have I'm going to give people a little insight into how I work here. So I have my DAW set up here. Let me get you in here too, John. Hold on there. There we go. There's John.
Wow, my dream has come true. I'm in Abe Duque's DAW.
Yeah, now I have to be in the DAW too, so I have to work in the DAW. So the thing here is that I wanted to show you this arrangement on this track that I did with Marco De Prima. And I actually released it last year before the whole pandemic happened. I'll play a little bit of it, and what I want to do is I want to show you what I did on the master, just to kind of give little people a little insight on what's going on my master.
There's a lot of stuff on your master.
Oh, this is my mastering chain, but I play it without the mastering chain. So
Yeah.
first, and then I'll play the mastering chain. Can you hear it, John?
Yes. A little quiet, but
it's a little quiet. It starts a little quiet. I don't want to blow everybody out when it gets really going. It kind of. I'm gonna just let that kind of happen, and I'll just gonna jump through the track a little bit. It's a little kind of broken beat thing. Now see, it's a lot louder now. Is it too loud?
Good.
So this is me mixing it down to what I think is a decent sounding mix. So there's a little kind of weird break there. And then this comes back. And then I'll just jump to... Okay, so the idea is not to get you guys to listen to this track right now, but I'm going to now turn on the mastering chain. Maybe I should lower the level on this because it's pretty loud. Would you say it's loud, John?
No.
It's not loud. Okay. All right, so here's the mastering chain. Whoa, now it's really loud. Maybe just my headphones are really loud. So let's have a compare again. Off. On. It seems to be a couple of my UAD plugins are disabled, which might make it not sound exactly the same. But let me just give you a little preview of what's in the chain, just to.
Max says it's loud.
Is it too loud, Max? That's the question. Maybe
it is what it is.
I'm going to lower it just to not blow everybody out of the water. Okay, so so the first thing in my chain, let's turn these guys off. The first thing in my chain, and this is, it's every mastering chain is a bit custom, except for like the beginning part of it. It's usually the same. A little bit of EQ. I did a little cut here at about 26. The reason is there was a lot going on in the bass frequencies, not in the subs, and it wasn't a trap track or something like that where it was just very, detailed bass that didn't move too much. There was a lot of bass and kick drum action, so I rolled it off quite a lot. This saves me a little.
That's pretty
bit.
Steep.
It is, but normally it's 20. But when I find that when it's hard to like get the action between the kick and the bass and all the other basses and all the other stuff working, if you relieve more of the bottom pressure, you can get that happening. And since this track wasn't like a rumbler anyway to begin with, I figured I'd get rid of that stuff there so I could get it a little going there. Then I have another Pro Q there, which I'm using to, I believe, roll off the sides. The sides to about 94 hertz. I think anything above above 90 is okay. 120.
You gotta use your ears though. It really depends.
Yeah, that's why it's 94.5 at this point.
Like how you chose that frequency has got to depend on like what it sounded like when you cut it.
Right.
Oh.
Agreed. Yeah. And that's what happened. And I mean, we don't have much time to like deeply dive into everything that's going on here, but then.
So I won't ask you about like linear phase or anything like that.
Oh yeah,
that's for another show.
So yeah, right. So
don't talk about it. It'll just go down the wormhole.
Yeah, we really will. I could put it in linear phase mode here, and then, but let's go to. I then usually after I do my first bit of EQ, at this point I sometimes would do a little de-essing if I thought it was a little sibilant, but if it's not overly sibilant, I'll save the de-essing for later. in the chain. I might put a couple of de-essers as I go through, because certain things you do, like imaging software, for example, usually brings out sibilants.
Right. Yeah.
So, but what I do then is a very light compression setup here to just kind of start to get that kind of SSL bus compressor circuitry. Not really trying to compress. I really don't want it to go. I'll show you how.
Yeah, the glue is good for that. I like also the one that comes with the complete the SolidWorks bus compressor. It's virtually identical in terms of controls. It just has a slightly different kind of. I don't know if it's warmer or what, but I like the sound of my mixes through that version of that SSL compressor. But the Live's glue is also good.
Right. So the if you could see the needle is not going up very much at all. So
It's only really reacting to the kick, isn't it? Like it's
just a little bit of that, and the attack is all the way slow as heck.
Yeah,
really fast release, and the ratio
that's what you want. It's
look.
making it sound a little bit. It's actually accenting the louder transients when that is on.
For those that are using Ableton, make sure that you use your glue compressor in oversampling mode.
Always.
And your EQ. All right, so moving from there, let's see what I put in here. I put this UAD device, which is
it working?
tape. I gave it a little tape. I don't always do this, but I wanted to warm it up a bit.
It can be interesting. I mean, whether it's a fancy UAD plugin like this, or even just careful use of Live Saturator, anything that adds a little bit of harmonic distortion can make a mix really, kind of tighten up and warm up or brighten up in the way you want.
Yeah. So I just add a little bit of that.
Humans like distortion.
I don't always pull in a tape machine, but in this one it was a little too cold. The sound of it, so I kind of added
It sounds like a lot of the parts in the instruments in your mix are kind of bright and sharp, so it makes sense you'd kind of want to round it off a little bit.
Yeah. So then after that, and I think this one's not working for some reason. I think
Just pretend you didn't use it.
Yeah, you know what it is? I don't have my Octo connected. I just have my and so my 1073 is not working. That's a bummer, because
that's EQ.
Yeah, this is the best EQ ever. So you're not even hearing the 1073 EQ at work.
It's probably adding like sparkle or something, right?
It is, and without being shrill, which is the beautiful thing about it. And then
that's hard to pull off.
The pull tech
without the right plugin.
The pull tech for adding some nice bottom.
So you did that high pass at the beginning to cut out the lows, and then you added some.
Yeah, that's
later.
The thing. That's what I will often be happy about removing bass, because I could add it back in with something like Pultec.
Well, and you can't add what isn't there, so you're shaping what's left after the high pass, and the high pass is getting rid of the like muddy stuff that doesn't translate well, and then this EQ is kind of tonally shaping the bass that is there and audible that you want.
But you don't realize how much is still there, and how much this EQ can reach in by the fact that you can boost and attenuate at the same time.
Well, and this is just a theory, but a plugin like this isn't just doing EQ. There's some algorithm in there that's emulating the sound of the circuitry that's probably also creating
tons of
harmonics, just not even before you change a control, before you boost or cut anything, it is adding tone to the mix.
Yeah, that's the thing with these old both
that's
the models.
What people mean when they talk about character.
Yeah, the good models and their actual gear. The good thing about it is that you get these, you get this amazing. You just run it through. A lot of people just like the first time Neil Landstrom showed me this in action, he just turned it on.
And did nothing else.
Did nothing. He just turned on his vintage gear, and they're like, okay, see the difference, and like, oh wow, yeah, it's something about just going through the circuitry. So a little bit of imaging, I guess, with this guy. I sometimes use the isotope imager, but this time I use this UAD Bobcat's Precision. I guess it's called K Stereo Master.
And
And
it's is it doing mid-side stuff?
this one does, yes.
And
Everybody
you
see
mentioned
how
earlier
the
that when you
sides
use
here?
stereo imaging, things can get brighter or more sibilant. And that,
Yeah,
when you,
so
if
that's
you make the
why.
mix wider, you're making the mids and the highs louder. So that's why we need to balance that out with things like de-essing and maybe even more EQing.
So so yeah, then I'll have then I just one of the secret sauce things that a lot of engineers use is the Oxford inflator, which
Yeah.
it isn't a saturator. A lot of people think it's a saturator. It actually hones in on it kind of makes an analysis of your harmonic structure of the music you have going, and it totally enhances that harmonic structure you have. And
But
and
it's not a saturator and it's not exactly a limiter either.
not at
It's
all.
somewhat it's
It's
something weird
Yeah,
that I
it's a
can't
very weird thing.
explain.
It's hard to find any information on what it's doing actually,
Yeah.
but it is pretty cool, and it does it's again. I feel dirty every time I use this because all you do is like
Why?
just go like that and it's done. It's not like you don't do much.
Mhm.
You don't like tweak it. Maybe you could tweak the curve, which I did here, which means brighter or darker where it's going to be based. But that's it. That's all the tweaking you can do. So again, these great devices, a lot of them are not that involved. And then
They just
finally, the
sound good.
de-esser in here involved,
And that's a good one.
the Pro DS, and then I have and again, I'm out of UAD power, so a lot of the things you're not even hearing but I use the Fairchild 670, which now I realize that not even the bus compressor is going here, so
Hmm.
too bad, but I'm just trying to show everybody anyway what a a mastering chain might be for my own tracks, because a lot of times I teach a lot of the mixing and mastering classes, and a lot of times I'm just telling people what to do with their tracks, and nobody sees what I do with mine, and just giving you a little bit of insight. Now this chain is totally custom. It always, some things are the same, like the reductive EQ stuff is always the same, and maybe it always ends with a limiter. But what happens in between is totally interchangeable,
It
depending.
depends on the track.
It totally depends on the track. But yeah, that's
Presets and like preset racks and preset settings for mastering doesn't really give you the best results.
no, no. I hate those because you think that you just look for the best one you can find, but you're better off learning what you can do. Although lately I've been trying to, I've usually been want to preach against all that kind of automated preset. We help you mix your record kind of stuff, a la Lander or whatever. But
Mm.
there's one thing right now that I can't deny, and that's Soothe 2. Soothe 2,
Soothe is great.
yeah, Soothe is great. It's
That's not
expensive too.
mixing for you. And to get
It's
them out of it, you still need to learn how to use it and listen to your
Yeah,
music
true,
carefully.
but it is
You got to
finding the
adjust it.
resonances for you, and it's kind of AI for that, which is
It's pretty awesome.
it is really awesome. It's super awesome. So with that said, that's where we are today. I think we have ran out of time now. That was great because
I mean, it's not
thanks for
horrible that
hanging
we
out,
go over,
John.
right?
What's that?
Hey, I'm happy. It's okay if we go a little over. Isn't that fine?
It's fine, I guess. I always try to be on time. Just
Well,
whatever.
it's just 2:03. We're well within range.
Right. So
And how do you sum all this up? How do you, we've talked about, sort of conceptually, like, how do you know when you're done? And then we're looking at literally like your mastering chain, and you're only doing this when you're done. How would you sum all this up?
how we mean like summing, or how would I sum up the whole?
No. Yeah, let's talk about, hey, let's get a passive analog summing box and
That's what I thought you were talking
jam
about for a
everything
second.
out. Oh, like wrap it up, Abe.
Oh, wrapping it up. Yeah. So okay. So today it's just been a discussion really about, because it's really a hard thing to knock down to a science. To say this is the way it has to be done from A to B, and don't veer from this at all. There is no science to writing music, laying it down, feeling like you want to commit to this. I think one of the hardest things is to know that this is going to last forever, and that people will, go 20 years from now and listen to this and judge you upon it. I guess maybe I think too deeply about that, but
Don't worry about how people are going to judge you. Do what feels right for you.
yeah, but there's so many ways to go about this, and wasn't David Bowie that said that you never really finish music, that you just kind of walk away? Yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at it. And specifically, I mean, it depends also what kind of music you're doing, like what the music is for. If you are, I mean, I guess I'll let this be my last word on how I know when my techno tracks are done. My gauge was always, until recently, because everything has changed, hearing it in the club, hearing it on the dance floor. That's when you know. Like if you have that kind, if you're a live performer and you're a band or you're a singer, when you perform it in front of the audience and you feel the response of your audience, you'll know if it's working. It'll be
Isn't that kind of a little
emotionally
too late for it
instant.
not to work?
No, because all right, in the case of like if you're a DJ who plays techno that is lucky to have gigs, whether it's streaming now or I mean, I guess this really makes more sense in terms of like when we're allowed to be in nightclubs and at parties and stuff. But if you're DJing or someone else is DJing and they're playing your track or you're playing your own track in context with everybody else's tracks on the dance floor, and let's say you play a hit and everybody's going crazy, and then you mix your new track in after it and everybody leaves. Your track is not done.
Yeah.
But if you put your track on and the party's like, yeah, this is great, this is amazing, hands up, the drop, everybody's killing it, and you're like, yeah, that's my track.
Yeah, but
you're done.
That also depends on the crowd, man, and
yeah, it's circumstantial, but that's a better test than how it sounds in your living room or your earbuds. Yeah. But that's for that specific purpose. If you're not making music for people to dance to over big speakers, you need a different test.
I think my favorite test is to shelve it.
Yeah,
and
perspective
come back.
and time.
Yeah, because that there's nothing that I mean, there's tracks that I've shelved that I forgot about, and 10 years later opened up and go, wow, that was crappy, or wow, that was great. But immediately when you have a very big distance to it and are not immersed in it and totally mesmerized by it, because mesmerized even in a bad way sometimes. You immediately know, within 5 seconds of listening to it, whether you're onto something here or not. So
sure,
creating a little distance to me is invaluable. Like just being able to walk away and do something else for a little bit.
Take a breath.
Take more than a breath. Sometimes 2 weeks of shelving time. 2 weeks for me is kind of typical. But anyway, everybody has to come up with their own way of working. Anyway, we are now 2 minutes and 7 seconds, but let's talk a little bit more about the school one more time. We are 343 Labs. Today you're watching 343 TV. My show is Production Playhouse with Abe Duque. John has come into my Playhouse today. John has a show tomorrow called John's Techno Saturdays. John Selway's Techno Saturdays. Tomorrow he'll be doing some really cool stuff that we already described it pretty much in detail. I'm really looking forward. I'm really bummed out by the fact that I'm usually teaching at 1 o'clock when you have your shows. I'd like to come on to your show and just bug you and sit there, or just even watch it in real time. I always get to watch it later, and I do watch it, but it's always later after the show has happened, which is good that we keep these archived for you guys. Remember, we're here every day at 1 o'clock, and if you like what you're seeing and you're interested, by the way, if you want to give me a like, that would be really nice. I appreciate those. And if you don't like what you see, also give me a dislike. If you want to give us some feedback also on
I just click thumbs down
on the comment. Yeah, click some thumbs down.
If you kidding.
No, go ahead, do it. If you want to give us some comments on the in the comment section, that's great. I read them all, and I take everything to heart, and I listen to you. I've actually changed the direction of the show a little bit to kind of fit with some of the comments, especially the ones that are well meant. So hit subscribe again. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow this channel. Right now, we're above 7K. We're about 7.46K. Is it? And so John, with that, let's say goodbye to the people, and you'll see them again tomorrow.
Come back tomorrow.
And remember, come back tomorrow for John's show. Bye.
Adios.